everyone, welcome to another episode of the Trade Talks podcast, where we discuss everything related to international trade. My name is Taye Kadri, your regular anchor, and with me I have Dr. Bamidele Ayubo, also known as the Export Doctor. Sir, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very fine. And you?
I'm well, thank you. Following from last week, or our last discussions, we had discussions around import business, and I do hope that you followed that episode, and if you did not, please go to our channel and check out the video. Today we're going to be looking at questions around monetary policy and fiscal policy and how they impact international business or international trade, and I do hope you would get one or two things from today's discussions.
All right.
So just jump right into questions for today. The first question is, what specific fiscal policy measures should the Nigerian government adopt to boost non-oil exports and increase foreign exchange earnings?
Okay, let's talk about fiscal policy and monetary policy.
What they are.
What they are. Monetary policy are just policies of CBN, basically to contain inflation. One of the major use of that tool or the policies of CBN, like MPR, for example, monetary policy that affect interest rate, is to contain inflation. On the fiscal side, which is mainly on government income expense, is to ensure that why the government, for example, if CM is going to try to contain inflation, the government also to be careful of the way it's spending so that it ensure that it doesn't put so much money in circulation that will eventually be undermining what CBN is trying to do. So, for example, when the government said it's going to give duty-free access for food import into Nigeria, that's a fiscal policy. That's affecting the income of the government, but that's to help enhance the inflation. So it will be able to reduce inflation already caused by the high level of money in circulation created by the last administration because of what is often called as ways and means, which involves CBN giving loan to the federal government. So can you take the question again now, so I'll be able to answer it? Yeah.
Okay. What specific fiscal policy measures should the Nigerian government adopt to boost non-oil exports and increase foreign exchange earnings?
Yeah, so one of them will be a policy that enhances production. So, for example, even though, like I said in introduction, that government is pursuing a policy, a fiscal policy that enable food to be imported duty-free to reduce the cost of food import. We shouldn't just do that for food. If we are going to boost non-oil export, we should do that for raw materials. The reason we should do that for raw material is because we need a lot of manufactured export, value-added export. Now, if we're able to do this for raw materials to help manufacturing industries will be able to produce at a cheaper rate, and that will make us competitive in export, and that will make us to be able to generate more foreign exchange. This policy also should involve supporting the manufacturer with whatever it is that is required to boost their productivity. And like I said, one of them, what I just said, which is helping to reduce the cost of importation by also giving, if not even duty waiver, maybe at least reducing the duty they pay for items imported into Nigeria.
Okay, sir. So how can the Nigerian manufacturing sector overcome the challenges of high production costs to compete better in global markets?
One of the major production costs of manufacturing in Nigeria is power. And what some of them have been doing is looking for alternatives of power. Instead of looking at diesel, some use gas. And the fact that they are using gas, for some of them, it seems to be a lot better for their operation. And some also, the cost of moving the goods from wherever it is they are getting the raw material from to their warehouse. So some, for now, before, have been sourcing for their raw material from outside the country. That means they are importing inflation because of the exchange rate differential. So if I'm importing from outside the country, sometimes this item I think they can produce in Nigeria. Now, if they're importing it from outside the country, the implication is that whatever the exchange rate issue is at that particular point in time, is going to affect the import of that item. So if it's possible for them to be able to get the raw material from outside, as in get the raw material locally, Like for example, corn. Corn can be built in Nigeria, although the corn in Nigeria can be expensive. So what I think manufacturers need to do is to do some level of backward integration, working with farmers, giving them seedlings, and some manufacturers are doing it, giving them seedlings, supporting them with all the initiatives that will enable the farmer to reduce their costs, increase the volume of production, and then be the off-taker that buy this of the farmers. I think this will be a measure that can help the manufacturer to reduce their cost of production in Nigeria.
Okay, so what are some immediate steps the government can take to reduce production costs for manufacturers?
A good example of what I just said is fiscal policy, which has to do with giving them duty waiver. And then another thing is to, every country subsidize. Every country. There's always something you subsidize for your people. For different reasons, depending on your objective and what you're trying to pursue as a government. Even the developed countries subsidize. So, for example, one of the major inputs for our people, for manufacturing in Nigeria is power. Subsidizing power will be a good one for them. Maybe the cost they're incurring on gas, or subsidizing transport. Whatever subsidy the government will do, that government can measure directly. The challenge of subsidy in Nigeria is it becomes a scam because people use it as a way of milking the government. But any kind of subsidy that government will do that will be able to help. For example, another subsidy is cost of funding. Like there is an organization in Nigeria called NISA. It's a government agency. You know what they do? If you take a loan from a bank and you pay back that loan, they give you, they pay you back, I think about 30% of the loan, as in they give you. The idea is, so I took a loan of 100 million at, let's say, 30% per annum, and I'm able to pay back that 30% per annum. Now, 30% of the amount I've paid will be given back to me. The idea is to reduce my interest costs, to encourage the bank to give me loan and encourage me to also take a loan from the bank. The idea government is trying to do to actually encourage the agri sector. So those kind of initiatives, as long as it's going to reduce the cost of production of the manufacturers, those are the things I think the government needs to do.
Okay. So how do high interest rates, and this is fiscal policy related, how do high interest rates and multiple tax affect the competitiveness of Nigerian products in the international market?
So you have talked about two things. The tax is on fiscal side.
Yes, and the other one
interest rate is on monetary side. So high interest rate, how does it what?
How does it affect the competitiveness of Nigerian
products? Of course, both of them are cost. Interest rate is cost to the manufacturer, tax is cost to the manufacturer. If your cost of production is high, then your price of sales will be high, then you won't be competitive. So it's definitely affecting the competitiveness of Nigerian businesses. Now, because of the exchange rate high increase in Nigeria, that is helping to balance up a little, such that even though the cost of production, because I export manufactured goods and I'm exporting as a trader, I'm not the manufacturer. So that means the manufacturer is producing in Nigeria and getting profit from me when I buy from him. But I'm exporting it and I'm still profitable. So that means if the manufacturer is exporting, he will make much money. Because if manufacturer sells to me at a profit and I buy from her and I export and I'm still profitable, then imagine the manufacturer is the one exporting it. So even though there is a challenge, and the challenge is the fact that the interest rate is high because NPR is going up, the tax also, in fact, the government is not really increasing taxes actually. The reform that is going on right now is to tax the rich more. And of course, to ensure that states that give more tax are the ones that get more of the VAT, for example, that the northern state of Nigeria is trying to contest again. But the idea is to expand the tax net, but the government is increasing tax on luxury goods. The idea is to get more money for people that have the money. Now, but what the government should be doing also is to reduce the taxes of manufacturers. For example, excise duties, for example, and even the company income tax they pay. The idea is, if I'm able to make my business competitive and they can export in a competitive manner, then they can generate the forex. And when the forex comes in, funny enough, it's going to help us curtail inflation, because now with high level of forex in Nigeria, we mean increased value of naira, we mean reduced cost of production within the country.
Okay. So what role does in infrastructure investments play in improving Nigerians' road sector productivity?
Now, it's so important. Infrastructure like road, infrastructure like storage facility, infrastructure like rail, infrastructure like port are heavy investment that government need to do. Do you know that a number of raw materials cannot even get to the market or get to the city because they are in the interior where the people produce, and they can only carry as much they can to the nearest market. People that will have driven into those villages to go and pick it up cannot go there because some of the roads are terribly bad. So road infrastructure, number one, from bridges to road, to be able to ensure that every village is producing one thing or the other is connected to the city. Number one. Number two is power infrastructure. Do you know that the whole power Nigeria is generating is not up to what some airports are using in the world? As in airport, the power an airport is using, like Heathrow, for example, that's the whole power a whole nation is generating. A whole, a whole nation is generating. So, infrastructure on power to be able to ensure that the power is available and at a reasonable rate. A power is available and at a reasonable rate. Infrastructure power. Rail. You know, one of the things I discovered about a number of countries that are able to do trade very well is that they have a good rail infrastructure. Do you know what happened? If I'm going to move truck today from Kano to Lagos, I'm going to spend close to $1 million, if not more, a truck or a container load of an item. But do you know, if I'm moving by rail, I can be paying at like half of that, if not even lower than half. Because the rail transport is a lot cheaper. And if you get developed country, you see rail getting to the airport, to the seaport, and the rail will carry hundreds of containers moving several times a day from one part of the country, from port to different inland dry port in that country. So infrastructure, now what all this does for a manufacturer is that it reduces the cost of production and of course make them a lot more competitive. But at the same time, it increases jobs and make the people have a good standard of living.
So why is improving access to credits? I know you mentioned something around this earlier, but I wanted to relate it to the survival of MSMEs in Nigeria. Why is improving access to credits at concessionary rates critical for the survival of MSMEs in Nigeria?
Because MSME are small. Because they are small, they are not able to enjoy economy of scale. So their cost of production at the end of the day is high. Because big organizations can produce large volume and that drop their cost because of a lot of fixed costs they have to deal with in the cost of production. But for an SME, because it's not able to do a lot of high volume of production, it's not able to achieve economy of scale. So what the government can do is to help to reduce the rate at which they get money. That means if they're able to get interest rates at single digit, for example, you know, because sometimes when I look at Nigeria and I see people in government complain, for example, you want to give a guarantee to a business, and you're saying that this business they don't want to give that guarantee like export credit insurance because that would be a risk of government. And I'm asking myself, people are stealing billions in Nigeria. People are stealing billions, and you cannot invest billions and take risk on your people. Knowing fully well, some businesses will go bad, no doubt, but many will survive and they will create jobs, they will pay taxes. So the government will get, it's a good return on the government at the end of the day. So the government should take risk on this business by making funds available to BOI, for example, Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, Nexim Bank, to be able to give loan to SME as single digit and with long term, single digit long term. Now, another thing is, when you now give that loan, sometimes the loan nobody gets. You know why? The terms are very stringent. When you now give a loan to an SME that doesn't even have so much asset, and if it is stringent, at the end of the day, it's not likely going to pay back. You know, there is this issue that cooperative have been able to do very well. Cooperative give loan to people without collateral, and they are not at a loss. Those are the kind of initiative government need to do. Form people into cooperative. Make funds available to them. Let them guarantee each other. Let them guarantee each other. So what happened in cooperative is that when you are going to, if I need 3 million and what I've contributed 1 million, I want to get 2 people who have at least 1 million in that cooperative to guarantee me. That means if I fail, they will just deduct the money from them. So at the end of the day, the cooperative never loses money. So we can develop a model that can help people work together in community in such a way that we're able to monitor the money given to them, that this money, the issue is that many people give this money and just go to sleep. Engage consultants who can work with them and ensure that they put in place systems that ensure that this money keep going around to these people at a cheaper rate, and the money keep growing rather than reducing because of bad loan.
Okay. So how can the Nigerian government balance high interest rates needed to attract foreign investors now with the need to boost domestic business growth and encourage international trade?
So how did they balance it with what?
How do they balance high interest rates needed to attract foreign investors?
Now how do they balance? What are they balancing it with? I'm not getting the question.
How can the Nigerian government
the high interest attract foreign investors, but
yes,
how do they balance in high interest rate
against attracting foreign investors? How do they attract foreign investors with a stable interest rate?
So that means, how do they, because maybe the question would have been like, how do they balance maintaining a low interest rate as against attracting high investors? Do you understand? Because high interest rate generally attracts foreign investors. But the issue is this: at the current level of MPR, we're already at the very high level. Some people are still investing in the US, in Europe, where the interest rate is single digit. So meaning, if our interest rate is below 20%, people are still going to come into this economy. So we don't have to be at 20-something, at 27.5% MPR now for us to be able to attract the investment. The reason we are currently increasing MPR is because they need to reduce the money in circulation. So when you increase their interest rate, bank is able to take money from people at high interest rate also for deposit. The CBN is also able to issue treasury bills, and they're able to get all those money in circulation, because the reason for high level of inflation is because there's so much money in circulation. Now, if we are going to be able to attract people to see coming, even though our interest rate is not as high, then we must have a conducive business environment. Then we must take security very seriously. Very seriously. So if this country is secure, and I think there is improvement now, because you've not been hearing a lot of kidnapping the way it used to be. If the country is well secured, they're going to attract a lot of people coming to the country. Then we also need to increase, not just security, also ensure we improve the business environment, ease of doing business. For example, the judicial system needs to work. Why? People must be able to know if they're going to the court, they're going to get justice, and they're going to get it on time. So we need to ensure a reform in the judicial system that ensures that people get justice, and the justice is done on time. And then, like I said, enabling business environment. If I want to register a business, how long does it take me to register? I need to get a permit. How long does it get a permit? I want to pay my taxes. Is it easy for me to pay my taxes? All those things, even cross-border trade, all those things that are needed to be able to make a business function effectively must be in place if we are going to be able to attract investment, even though our interest rate is not as high as it used to be right now.
Okay, so what reforms are necessary to tackle supply side deficiencies that are contributing to persistent increase in inflation?
Now, is the security, because the supply is not coming out. Two things: productivity is low. I give you an example of corn. There was a particular year that people imported corn from India. Do you know that corn from corn from India landed cost in Nigeria is cheaper? Corn from India landed cost this particular year was about 50,000, but locally corn price per ton was about over 100,000.
Why is that so?
Cost of production.
Okay.
So number one, our yield in Africa, in Nigeria, is very low. Our yield per hectare is very low. So we need to get improved variety to improve yield per hectare. Number one. Number two, then we need to ensure that the people are trained to implement farm practices that also help to increase yield. So that means we need a lot of extension services to help with the farmers, and then build roads to the road and rail to the places where the stuff can be evacuated and taken to the factory. The idea basically is to reduce the cost of production. If we're able to build infrastructure and reduce production, then we'll be able to achieve this objective.
Okay. So this is around insecurity now.
Okay.
Because a lot of farmers complain about how their farmlands were destroyed and all. So how can Nigerian government address insecurity in farmlands to boost food production and tackle inflation?
It's the elephant in the room. The insecurity have a lot to it. There's some insecurity caused by minerals in a particular place that the people are trying to get and chase away the farmers from their settlement, such that they can't go to their farm again because there's a mineral there. Some people are mining illegally, so they need to create insecurity so that nobody will come to that place. So, meaning government must tackle it headlong. Government will tackle it headlong. And when we have farmer headers clash, it's a good problem we have in Nigeria. Farmer headers is a good problem. The both of them can coexist because the farmer needs the header because of the waste of the animal is manure, and the header need the farmer because at the end of the day, after harvesting the grass and it's not. So it's just unfortunate that we politicize issues that could have been resolved. And do you know what? I was at a section around October, training from government agency, and there was a guy from Adamawa, and he was telling me that there's local government in Adamawa, and they solved this problem of farmer headers class, such that if an elder enter a farm, they will deal with him. The community, both the Fulani community, and they will deal with him and probably chase him from their community because they've solved the problem. They've been able to let them know where they will go in to go and eat, where they must pass. They've agreed on everything. They are coexisting because they both need each other. It's just bad the way we're politicizing that have no business politicizing. So I think we should take a cue from that particular local government, Adamawa, where they are able to live together. Farmer and elder are symbiotic relationship that can coexist, and it will be a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think government need to work with the communities and work with the be like a go-between to put in place system that both benefit the herders and the farmers, and they can coexist in such a manner that insecurity is out. The farmer enjoy themselves, the herder enjoy themselves, both of them are helping each other.
So how can the Nigerian private sector overcome borrowing challenges and uncertainties to drive sustainable growth?
How can
the Nigerian private sector now overcome borrowing challenges and uncertainties to drive sustainable growth?
Overcoming borrowing challenges. What I would recommend, if you are into manufacturing, is for you to find other markets. Find other markets to be able to increase your volume of sales, so you can increase your production volume, so you can achieve economy of scale to drive down your cost. So find other market. If you can't find within Nigeria, maybe you should consider export, because if you're able to find other markets and increase what you are selling, you're able to generate more demand for your goods, then that means you have to produce more. That means you are going to be able to achieve some economy of scale that can help you drive down your price. Because it is right now, interest rate, you can't bring it down. I mean, NPR is high, the bank have to increase their rate. There's nothing you can really do about it at this time. The only thing you can do is to find a way to reduce other costs apart from the interest rate cost. And one of the ways to do that is to reduce the cost of production and other costs you are incurring, to be able to ensure that you are able to still be profitable in spite of the high level of interest in the economy.
Okay, so how can businesses in Nigeria leverage the current devaluation of the naira to boost their export rate?
Devaluation is a blessing in disguise. A blessing because some countries try to devalue their currency to be able to encourage export. So that's why I said, as any manufacturer today in Nigeria that is not thinking of export, is not forward thinking, and is not ready to grow the business or make the business succeed. Any business in Nigeria today, you are manufacturing and you're not thinking of it, unless the product you are selling is so localized, nobody can use outside Nigeria, which I don't think. I don't think. I can't think of any. I can't think of any of that. If human beings are using Nigeria, maybe you might not be able to export it far away. Maybe you'll be able to export it near. It's possible. Okay, there is a product, mattress. I don't know what the issue is with the mattress, but because of the space occupying container, it doesn't look very profitable. I have tried to talk to one of the mattress manufacturers in Nigeria before. But the people are exporting mattress, so they need to go and take a cue from people exporting mattress. Is it that they produce it to a particular form and then finish it in the destination to be able to occupy that space? There must be something those people are doing that is making it to still be able to export mattress profitably, even though Nigerian producer is saying they're not able to export mattress profitably. So there are products like that might have those issues that are able to export profitably. I think any business in Nigeria today, in fact, my opinion is if you have obligation in forex, if you need to pay in forex, maybe pay your import supplier abroad, pay for services. If you are not generating forex, the business and endangered species, just a matter of time, that business might die if the owner of the business does not do something about taking advantage of the current rate in Nigeria to be able to consider selling his product or service in the export market.
So there are instances where an exporter produces or a manufacturer produces a product, like he doesn't finish producing it, exports it and then finishes
it. So it's like the product is intermediate. So I ship it in intermediate form because raw material is here, right? So let me give you an example. This can happen for solid minerals. I want to produce battery. I'm a battery producer. But I buy the lithium or the lead ore in Nigeria and convert to lead ingot in Nigeria, ship it to destination, and then convert it to battery in destination. So that means it's produced to intermediate product or secondary product from primary to secondary, and then the tertiary is done abroad. If a secondary product shipment is growing, about 50% of the about 25 trillion trading goods, value of trading goods in the world, about 50% of this is intermediate product traded around the world. Intermediate product traded around the world, meaning the product is no more in the primary form, it's now in the secondary form, and it will be shipped in that secondary form to be converted to finished goods tertiary form when you get to destination.
So you have to work with the manufacturer over there.
Oh, definitely. So it's either I am at both sides, shipping to myself, producing to intermediate, or working with a manufacturer who convert that intermediate to finished product. Either of those two will work.
Thank you everyone for listening to today's episode of the podcast. We do hope that you learned one or two things from all that's been discussed, from how monetary policies or fiscal policies affect your business as someone is considering international trade. And we hope to see you in our next conversation.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye.